Welcome into our In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. Tom Leach, along with Keeneland's director of simulcasting, Jim Goodman. And this is our final podcast for the spring meet. We'll still have our regular Saturday podcasts on stakes races around the country, but this wraps up the spring meet, and we do so, Jim, with a Grade 3 Bewitch Stakes for fillies and mares on the turf at 1.5 miles. And this, as is usually the case, brings together a nice full field, great betting race. Who do you like?
Yeah, it's amazing. We're sitting here talking about the last day of the race meet. It just goes by. Once you get started, it just flies.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to separate. I really like to breed the 10 horse, but I got off of her and went to the 11 White Rose. And the deciding factor was the fact that White Rose has a very impressive win over the track at 1.5 miles in the Dowager last fall. Bridge Mahan comes back to ride. He rode her twice last year and was 2 for 2 on her at Kentucky Downs and Keeneland. Bill Mott obviously gets them ready, and she had a nice prep race in the Orchid at Gulfstream Park, and that was a Grade 3 where Tabreed did beat her, but she had a little bit of trouble on the last turn and went out. So I'm going to take White Rose because of the history here. I can make a case for Tabreed because she's won here, but her win here was in an allowance race, and quite some time ago in October of 13. So could give White Rose the edge here. Play both those on top with Kitten's Point, the 9, and K Dancer, the 4, is a little bit intriguing to me. Rosario takes for Chad Brown, and Chad Brown's been killing it on the turf here at Keeneland. So you got to throw her in there, but I think Tabreed and White Rose are 1-2 here.
I'm going to take a horse in here that is not the kind of horse that I normally take, but I'm going to take Caroline Thomas, the 6. And for two reasons. The horses that run well on this turf course historically continue to run well on it, and she is less than a head away from being 3 for 3 here at Keeneland. So she hasn't won, but she has been right on the wire in all 3 of her races. So she always fires here. Her best buyer speed figures have been in the races on the Keeneland turf course. And she's a horse that, comes from way out of it, so you got to time the ride just right and find the right path. And Rajiv Mirage just rode her the last time, and now he rides her again for the second time. So it's he's gotten to know her a little bit, and so he should benefit from that experience. So for all those reasons and the fact that she'll get overlooked on the board, I think I'm going to try Caroline Thomas. I think she's the perfect exacta key horse because if she doesn't win, there's a good chance she could get second. And the problem is I don't know who to limit the opportunities with. So I will rank them in order of which I would use them, and folks can use as few or as many of these as they want. Tabreed, Courtesan, that's 10, then 12. The 2 Anipa, the 4 K Dancer, the 9 Kitten's Point, the 11 White Rose. So I use as many of those as you could afford in exacta boxes with Caroline Thomas is my pick for the Bewitch. Then in the late pick 4, started in the 7th race.
7th race, wide open race, I think. And I was talking to you before we recorded this that I was 6 deep in Wednesday's pick 4 and didn't hit it. So I'm going to go 5 deep here. I never learned, but it's hard to hit that all button unless you got a single. I don't really have a single. So in the 7th race, I'm going to go all the outside horses. I'm going to go Impress Maker, the 6, Chocolatier, the 7, Queen's Parade, the 8, Cash Forever, the 9, and Free Thinker, the 10. My top pick would be Empress Maker for Le Peru and Grand Motion. I love the buyer progression on those $35,000 optional claiming races at Gulfstream, 69, 73, 80. She steps up one more step. She's going to run 85 here, and that'll be fine. Second race, which is the 8th race, I went 2-5-7 with Sandbar, the 2, Eastwood, the 5, which is my top choice for Pletcher and Velasquez, and then 7, Who's in Town for Michael Madsen for Lorenz Giroux. In the 9th race, I would take 10-11. I'm going to stand with Tabreed and White Rose, 10-11. And then the last race, I'm going to take 2, 3, and 7, spending $45. And that race would be the 2 horse is Chappie. Xander's Own is the 3, and the 7 is Include Indy Cat for Robbie Alvarado. So top choice there would be Xander's Own. So I would go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with 2, 5, 7 with 10, 11 with 2, 3, 7, and that's $45.
I'm going to start with 4 horses in the first leg. I like Chocolatier a good bit in there, but not enough to single, I don't think. So I'm going to take 7 with 3, 6, and 9. 6 is the Empress Maker, the one that you mentioned. So the 3, 6, 7, 9 in the first leg. I like Eastwood in the second leg. I'm also going to use Sandbar and the 6, Ghost is Clear. So 2, 5, 6 there. Going to use all 7 horses I mentioned in the Bewitch. Led by Caroline Thomas, the 6. And so then I need to single somewhere, so I'm going to single in the last leg. And if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Fenerbahce, the 5. It's got some good speed, and I think got hooked a pace that was too fast last time and should do better here. So I'm going to single the 5 in the last race. Not a strong opinion on a single, but to keep the ticket manageable, I'll take the stand there and hope I'm alive and take my stand with him in the last race. Best of luck for the final day of the spring meet at Keeneland. Don't forget about the concert on the lawn after the races on Friday with Sunday Best performing. And then we'll be back with our regular Saturday podcast of stakes races all around the country here on the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com.